Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm on a stage. This is wild. Hello, real people in front of me. This is something. It's been a minute. Welcome to DevOps Days MSP. My name is Ian Coldwater. I am a security researcher. I am a co-chair of SIG Security for the Kubernetes project. And most importantly, for our purposes today, I'm a longtime community organizer and a South Minneapolis resident. This conference feels like coming home to me. I got my first job in DevOps coming out of DevOps Days MSP at a company who were early Kubernetes adopters, where I became the security SME on the team. I had my first breakout talk at DevOps Days MSP. My daughter gets to have her first conference talk later today. And I'm just super excited to be here with all of you in real life. I love this con. I love this city. I love the people here. And while we're back here together in one place somehow, after one absolute hell of a year, I want to talk to you about what community can look like. Because this community, honestly, has been through a hell of a lot in the past year. Before I start, I want to give a little bit of a content warning. Bridget warned you about it already, but just putting it out there. This talk will reference things that have happened locally in the last year. And that means that it will have contextual mentions of police violence, the Minneapolis uprising of summer 2020, and its aftermath. It's not going to be a super downer road talk, but it is context that we are all living in, so I'm letting you know about it now. The slide deck will also have pictures of graffiti that express anti-police sentiments. Some of them may or may not have swearing on them. You will see those in the slide deck and walking down literally any street in South Minneapolis. So, 2020, am I right? 2020 was a cataclysmic year for everybody. And in the Twin Cities, we had another cataclysmic event. The murder of George Floyd on May 25th on the intersection of 38th and Chicago created ripples that went out worldwide. We became, in the Twin Cities, the epicenter of a global uprising for racial justice. Out of that pain and grief came fire and destruction, and also fierce beauty and fierce joy. The community came together in really amazing ways. People really showed up hard, really showed us what community can look like. And I want to talk about that, because I think that we, as DevOps engineers, as people who live in this community or any community, can learn a lot from it. After the uprising, when people didn't have access to resources, people brought them, or sent them, or made them happen. They brought food. They brought baby supplies. They brought books. They brought toys. They brought clothes. They brought everything that people could conceivably need, pretty much, except the post office, which stayed problematic for a while. People had PPE for COVID. People had free masks. They set up COVID testing stations and COVID vaccination stations eventually. They set up emergency response systems for community defense. So if there was any kind of emergency that happened around them, they were able to come and respond with their neighbors and do what they needed to do. And honestly, it worked. People really made a lot of things happen as community efforts here. It was really impressive. The government didn't take care of us, really, during COVID in a lot of ways. The government didn't really take care of us during the uprising in a lot of ways. They pretty much sat on their hands and let South Minneapolis burn. And when the neighbors sat in their yards and with garden hoses trying to figure out how to put those fires out themselves, those neighbors ended up coming together and figuring out how maybe we could begin to do things better. Because they didn't keep us safe. We keep us safe. And out of all of that sprung George Floyd Square on the intersection of 38th and Chicago. George Floyd Square started being occupied on May 25th when George Floyd got killed. It is still there today. You can go visit it. The memorial to George Floyd is there. It is a really powerful and amazing place. And I'm going to talk about it today. At George Floyd Square, people have built a model of community that we can look to and we can learn from. It's beautiful, and it shows us a different way to do things. The most radical thing that George Floyd Square has done isn't the barricades. It's that community. It's bringing people together in that way. At George Floyd Square, it's not that people are opposed to fighting back, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for each other, for our neighbors, and for the community there. We are about people over property, always. And sometimes people over propriety. We at George Floyd Square are a village. We are a community. We hold each other in a community of care. We don't go on Facebook, we face each other. We don't go on Nextdoor, we go next door. We get to know our neighbors. We get to know each other. And when I say our neighbors, I mean all of our neighbors. Nobody gets left behind. We see each other. We get to know each other. We make sure that everybody has what they need. If there's conflict, which there sometimes is, because humans, as we all know as DevOps engineers, we see it all the time, we have policies around that. We have a code of conduct too. We walk and talk, or we move around. You know, we try to figure out where people are coming from, meet them where they are, have conversations with them to try to figure out if we can come to some sort of resolution. And if that doesn't work out, we don't call the cops, we don't get into fights, we simply move away from them and move around. I try actually to take this with me at work because sometimes I really want to try to understand where somebody is coming from. I want to try to meet them where they are, try to understand their perspective. And sometimes, actually, also you just got to move around. So, what does it look like to live in community? What does it look like to do that with each other? When we talk about our communities and neighbors, who are we talking about? Who is the community? Who is our neighbors? Because sometimes when we hear people say that, they don't mean everybody, right? They mean homeowners, they mean business owners, but we mean everybody. We want to talk about all of them, and we want to see them. Because if we care for each other, if we hold each other, and by each other I mean everybody, in care together, we can create forms of community that in the United States, or really a lot of the time anywhere, a lot of us don't see. Because even the least of us, especially the least of us, starts to get what they need there. And when people are able to get what they need, you can watch them bloom, you can watch them grow, and you can watch everybody grow together. It's gorgeous. So, what does that look like? What does it look like to see each other, to see our neighbors, to hold one another in care? I'm going to just take a sip of water for a second, and we're all just going to watch the neighborhood bloom. Living in community means seeing and looking out for all of our neighbors, truly. Who are our neighbors? Our neighbors are the boys on the block. Our neighbors are the rowdy teens on the corner. Our neighbors are the workers on the stroll. Our neighbors are our houseless neighbors who live there too, and who matter, because all of our neighbors matter. And they are our community. We don't leave them behind. We don't leave anybody behind. You know who is not our neighbors, I will say, is the Minneapolis Police Department, 92% of whom don't live here. Anywho, so we come together, we see each other, and we make our communities safer together by coming together in these ways. We had a roller skating event, and the pictures are all ridiculously cute. That's the only one, though. And when neighborhood watch organizations happen, kind of historically, what they are just conduits to the police, right? You know, you look out for something, looking for bad, and as a security person who threat models and who tries to figure out how to keep out known bad or let in known good, I'm familiar with that model, right? As a security researcher and somebody who tries to eliminate threats, keeping out known bad very rarely works, actually, because there are always other forms of bad. And if we can figure out models that make it so that we have a model for what good can look like, that actually works better. It works better in systems, And it works better with people. It works better in our neighborhoods, too, as well as our clusters. So we're taught to be afraid of other people. We're taught to be suspicious. We're taught to look out for known bad. But honestly, it isn't us against them. It's us. We all live here, right? I mean, hello to the out-of-towners. We all live somewhere. And we're all here together. What can it look like for us to be here together? At George Floyd Square, we're actively working to figure that out. Creating community starts with asking what people need and helping them get it. It starts with understanding people's perspectives and where it is that they're coming from. And honestly, step 0 for us is humility. It's being vulnerable. It's admitting that we don't know everything. This is hard for a lot of people. White people are often not taught to do this. Men are often not taught to do this. And it's really important because the fact is, nobody knows everything. I mean, if you know everything and you're in the audience, that's awesome. Nobody else knows everything. But like, we don't actually know what other people know or what they don't know. We, a lot of the time, don't even know what we don't know, right? And so trying to come together and understand other people is really important, not just where we live, also at work, and not just where we work, but also where we live. If we see other people and we let them see us, if we share resources in a world that encourages us to hoard them, if we collaborate in a world that encourages competition, what can that world begin to look like? Can it begin to look like sharing? Can it begin to look like collaboration? Can it begin to look like people coming together? You know, like DevOps. It's pretty sweet. Sometimes creating community looks like creating entirely new models that haven't really been seen yet. But a lot of the time, it's important to recognize that, okay, hold on, sorry. It's important to recognize that there are already people doing that work that we can look to and we can learn from. Like humans, this work can be messy, it can be imperfect, it can be complicated. And like humans, it can be absolutely gorgeous and full of connection and full of beauty and full of joy. And it's not easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Stuff happens. We all know it as DevOps engineers. Computers are easy, people are hard. And it's the hardest and most rewarding work I've ever done. Maybe some of you can relate to this. And it's completely worth it. In DevOps, we're against silos, right? But look at the world we live in. It has silos too. There are whole worlds of people who cannot imagine the kinds of things that we in tech have become accustomed to. When we complain about our salary negotiations, I know we all do it, I do it too, like, you know, the numbers that we're talking about are not numbers that most people will ever see. When we start talking about our frequent flyer status, about, you know, like whatever bullshit DevOps Twitter is on today or yesterday, I wasn't online yesterday, you know, like those things are not actually relatable to the rest of the world. We live in a very, very, very rarefied bubble. And because we have access to those kinds of resources, that's actually really awesome in a lot of ways. Because that means that we can use the skills and resources that we have that other people don't, and we can distribute them. We can share them. We can give back to our local communities and our neighbors to look out for everybody, nobody left behind. How do we do that? Well, first, realize that there actually are two cities. And I don't mean Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minneapolis and St. Paul have the worst racial inequality statistics in the country. And that means that in a lot of ways, we can't imagine each other's lives. It is really hard to imagine how other people live because it is so radically different. And that goes both ways. And when we live in close proximity to each other and live in totally different worlds, it can be hard to see each other. We have to do it anyway. If you're privileged, you can choose not to look at the worlds that exist in front of you in plain sight, but you shouldn't. It's important. I'm not an exception to this. Before George Floyd Square, I thought I did a pretty good job of knowing my neighbors, but most of my neighbors were the people who looked like me. I have been paying attention to prisoner struggles and prisoner support work for a very long time, and I thought that I was familiar with the ones locally. There were people who were my neighbors, who were prisoners, who were in struggle, whose names I didn't know. That's shameful to me, personally. Like, I thought I was doing well with it. I wasn't. But I've come to learn that, and coming to learn that doesn't feel like, personally super, comfy happy, but I think I'm really glad that I've gotten to do that. It's really important. As I've gotten to know more of my neighbors and what is going on in their lives, I've gotten to understand the fabric of their lives better, which is amazing and which is hard. People's lives are really different, and people's lives can be really difficult, and we, as people in tech, can make that better for people. So let's talk about how we do that. How are we giving back to the people that we live around, to the people that we live with, to the community that we live in? Are we? How can we do that better? One thing George Floyd Square did was go to the neighbors, actually, and say, what does justice look like to you? What would justice mean to you? What do you need? What do you need to thrive? They divided up blocks. They went and talked to the neighbors about it, said, what do you need? The answers that they got from the neighbors became the 24 demands of George Floyd Square, which are up on the internet. You can read them. I will have them at the resource side at the end. And what if we all started doing that? What if we all went and talked to our neighbors and asked them what they need? This sounds simple, and it isn't simple, and it's also an incredibly radical idea, because a lot of the time we assume, and frankly, people in tech assume, that we know what's best for other people. A lot of us aren't taught to live in community. White people, we especially aren't. A lot of us grow up in atomic nuclear family structures in the suburbs, which are designed to be isolated. Maybe we think of ourselves as part of our family, but not really as a part of a community as a whole. Not all cultures are like that. Some really actually do feel that way and live that way, but maybe not everyone in the room is from a culture like that. A lot of people don't talk to their neighbors. People are suspicious of each other. But we don't have to live that way. For most of human history, humans simply haven't lived that way. And a lot of human cultures don't today. We can look at them. We can learn from them. We can look to them, not at them. We can look to them and learn from them. And we can't assume that we know everything, because we just don't. And we can listen to them. One of my favorite things I've seen at the Square is getting to watch people grow. Getting to watch people grow into themselves, into new skills, into new conceptions of themselves and their place in their community. It's gorgeous to see. People, you can just watch them bloom and grow in real time. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. A lot of people maybe just haven't been exposed to other ways of living, and when they have, it really works for them. And honestly, anybody can do this, because we all have things to contribute, and we all have a role to play. This small child who set up this lovely flower pot is playing their own role. Everyone at George Floyd Square does this. It's wonderful to see. Seamstresses make beautiful clothes. Welders wield barricade materials. People who work in construction make buildings. Cooks cook for people. And some of us, like those in tech, maybe have some other skills that we could help use. Maybe some other resources we might have access to. I'm actually going to use myself as an example, which is awkward as heck, because I pretty much never talk about myself on stage. It's really weird for me. I'd rather hide behind the tech. But I want to talk about myself for a minute. As an example of what one person can do. I don't personally have a lot of time to get to things. I have a lot going on. But I do have access to resources, as I think many of us here in the room in tech do. And I do have access to a platform on Twitter where I get to talk to a lot of other people who have access to resources. And so one gift that I'm able to bring, because we at George Floyd Square talk about bringing your gifts, bringing what you are good with, what you are good for, what you are good at, and who you are as a person, one gift that I can bring is that. So one weekend, I decided I wanted to do a spontaneous fundraiser. I was kind of bored on a Saturday afternoon. And I was like, I'm going to go raise some money for firewood for George Floyd Square, because it was cold. It was the polar vortex last year, if you remember how cold it was. It was really cold out. And, I put out a call, be like, hey, if people want to fundraise for them, I'm going to put out $100. Anyone want to match me? People did. And then a lot of people did. Side note, people really like matching. I'm not sure why this is, but I'm OK with it. And it worked out great. And eventually, I got it down to enough of a science that I could make $3,500 for some cause in an afternoon, or $6,000 in a day, or $10,000 in a weekend. And I kept doing that. Just bored Saturday afternoons, spontaneous fundraisers. And I ended up raising over $25,000 for the square. I've never admitted that in public, because it's really not about me at all. I'm just one community member who was able to do a thing. And I brought my gifts and brought my resources and helped share them with the people who needed them, who were doing the work. That was a form of me doing the work, too. Honestly, we can all do that. We can't necessarily all do that, but we can all do something that you can do that I might not be able to do, because we all have different gifts. We have different access to resources, we have different skills, we have different things that we bring in terms of our perspectives and our voices and our stories as humans. All of us have that. We are all good at something. We all have something to teach and something to learn. And if you're like, but I'm not good at anything, you are good at telling your own story and using your own voice and bringing yourself and your perspective, and that can help a lot. We've seen things at the square where somebody will be like, oh no, I'm from a small town. This is not how this will play in Peoria. And that is a valuable perspective, because a lot of the time the people that they're talking to are people who maybe have never been to Peoria, are not likely to talk to anybody in Peoria, and maybe are just not going to know how that kind of stuff is going to be understood. Because when you understand other perspectives, and when you share perspectives with other folks, you can broaden what you are aware of a lot, and you can act accordingly. I didn't say that earlier to brag. I just said that because that's one example of what one people can do. The money that I ended up raising went to firewood and propane to keep people warm in the polar vortex, to building warming sheds to help people keep people warm on the barricades, to kickstarting a fund to open up a free clinic for the people and pay the doctors to staff it, and to keeping a black family in the home that had been in their hands for generations. The first time I did that, the firekeepers thought it was an op. They were dead convinced that I was a Fed. They got super paranoid about it, because they had never seen money come in like that. They were like, what is happening? Obviously, somebody is trying to set us up for something. And because honestly, in tech, we're like, okay, yeah, we can throw $100 at that. All right, sure, why not? Not everybody, but a lot of us. And people really don't have access to that kind of resources in most of the world. The fact that we have that is an incredible amount of power, and what are we doing with that power? Are we using that power for good, actually? Maybe we are, but I think that we can do more. I think that we can get the resources that we have access to, that our friends have access to, that we have access to collectively, and we can change people's lives in ways that are unimaginable to them, in ways that, frankly, are maybe what we spend on DoorDash in a month, or whatever, And understanding the differences in our worlds and where we're all coming from, respectively, can really help a lot. And also, it can help keep us from one trap that I want to warn us about. We shouldn't be centering ourselves. It's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about any of you. It's about everybody. It's about everybody reaching liberation together. And another trap that I think the techies have to watch out for is that you don't have to invent everything yourself. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. In fact, you shouldn't invent everything yourself, and you shouldn't figure everything out by yourself right now, because you need to know what other people need. How do you know what other people need? You ask them. Again, sounds simple, maybe isn't. But if you don't know what people need, how are you actually going to help them? Techies let's talk for a minute. We have an awful, awful, awful reputation about this. I was warned specifically about this in relation to this talk. Make sure that they don't come in and disrupt everything by thinking that they're the smartest people in the room, and that they know better, and that they know what's best for everybody, and that they cause trouble. Don't tell them to do that. Nobody wants that. So techies, don't do that. Nobody wants that. We come in being the smartest. We assume that we know all the things. We assume that we know what's best and that we can just make that happen and we can build it better. That's not always the best thing to do. We can be humble. We can stop for a second. We can listen. We can understand what people need. And then we can work with them, not for them, not as a matter of charity, not necessarily as a matter of service, although, I mean, that is also fine, not necessarily just throwing money in their general direction, although that is great and all of you should be doing it. But if we work together with our communities, in our communities, as a part of our communities, as a part of those spaces, we can make change in our communities, for our neighbors, frankly, in and for ourselves, because liberation and justice for everybody is good for everybody. It's good for us too. When other people live better, we get to live better also. Where there is people, there is power. Consider the most affected. Listen to them first. Be humble. People know what they need. They'll tell you if they trust you, and you can build trust by being trustable. Be trustworthy. Know that you are going to be somebody who is going to be seen as safe to talk to, who is going to listen to people, who is going to see them, who is going to try to understand them. That doesn't mean that you are going to be the same as they are. A lot of the time, you're really not. And a lot of the time, that can be hard, messy human work. But if we understand people better, that ends up working out really well. And we all know this, right? As DevOps engineers, we're all about collaboration here. We want to build bridges across chasms, across people who work differently, who think differently, who live differently. People are not going to always think and act and have the same motivations as we do. That's okay. We can still work together and work to understand one another, and we can still give back and make life better for them too. This goes for our communities, for our neighbors, for each other, for our workplaces. It goes for every system that we are a part of, and we are parts of technical systems, social systems, and socio-technical systems too. It's for all of them. One sec. But I want to say a thing, though, at the end of this, which is when I say bring your gifts, it isn't just resources, and it isn't just skills. Although all of us have amazing skills and resources, it's us. We are the gifts. You know, like our humanity, ourselves, getting to see each other's humanity, getting to understand each other's perspectives and stories, that is a gift. That creates community, and that can help absolutely all of us bloom and grow. We can do that. How do we do that? We have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and we have to do it all the time. If not now, when? If not you, who? We liberate us. We liberate each other. We keep each other safe. We hold each other in community. We can look to the models that are being built in George Floyd Square and elsewhere for some examples of how that could happen. But it's going to be different everywhere, because that block's demands are not going to be your block's demands. Your neighbors are not my neighbors. Your neighbors are okay. But like, we all need to bring this to where we live and work to understand one another in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, in every community that we're a part of. We need to respect one another. Be careful with each other so we can be dangerous together. Another world is possible. Let's bring it into being, together, with and for all of us. The secret is to really begin. George Floyd Square is still up, their demands are still up. Here is a slide about things that you can do to support the square. If you want to, feel free to take a picture of it. I will probably put this slide deck somewhere at some point also. Yeah, no justice, no streets, and we mean that. Thank you.